So the Chicago Bears just doubled down with two great moves. So we've got two interview requests put out by the Chicago Bears, and these guys are great coaches. One being a top Sean McVay assistant. Looking at it closer, though, I'm not so sure that these interviews are what they appear to be. And that's what I want to talk about because the two coaches lined up to interview for our defensive coordinator role, they're both respected. LA Rams assistant coach and passing game coordinator, Aubrey Pleasant, and Minnesota Vikings defensive backs and defensive passing game coordinator, Durante Jones. Now I'm going to go into who these coaches are, what their fit would be, but I'm still firmly in the camp that Dennis Allen, he's going to be the hire. And at the forefront, I think these interviews signal that the Allen hire is quickly approaching because clearing out the Rooney Rule obligation. So if you're not familiar with the requirement, they have to interview two minority candidates for coordinator positions, one for like a quarterback's coach position, and they can, in fact, be virtual. So they can move quickly to get Allen in the building with these interviews being done. Their minds are made up. But these aren't throwaway nonsense interviews either. These interviews aren't favors to friends to increase their visibility. It wouldn't surprise me one bit, not at all, if one of these coaches ends up on this staff. That's been a total house cleaning done by Ben Johnson, and both of these coaches are highly skilled in the area of coaching defensive backs. Both important interviews. They just aren't what they seem from what I'm hearing. So let's just start out with Jones and our new head coach, Ben Johnson. He knows this guy. First of all, he squared off the Vikings twice this season in his role as the Lions offensive coordinator. You guys know that. Durante Jones is top notch. Jones has spent the last 3 seasons on Kevin O'Connell's staff. He was also the Vikings defensive backs coach when Mike Zimmer was the head coach in 2020. So he spent a lot of time in this division. And if you go back to his playing days, they were cut short, various injuries in college, and he started his coaching career in 2021 as a grad assistant. He worked through the college ranks, 1.5 decades, got his first job in the NFL as the assistant defensive backs coach for the Miami Dolphins in 2016. His next steps, he went to coach the cornerbacks for the Bengals and to coach the defensive backs with the Vikings under Mike Zimmer, and that was in 2020. But kind of a notable thing with him, he spent 1 year with the Vikings. Then he took LSU's defensive coordinator position in 2021, not retained by incoming head coach Brian Kelly in the following year. Subsequently, he was invited back to Minnesota under a new regime. He became Kevin O'Connell's defensive backs coach in 2022, and he also survived a defensive coordinator change from Ed Donatel to Flores. Now, how is this significant? It says that he's a very good coach, highly respected, because the Vikings brought him back after the LSU stint, and he even survived a changing of defensive coaches. I mean, that says a lot. In his defensive backs, we're talking like Lewis Seen, Andrew Booth. He's had some guys that have had success, but once again, the fact that he keeps getting jobs with the Vikings, that shows how much they value him. And we're looking at Jones always being a popular name when it comes to listing potential like successors for Flores as Minnesota's defensive coordinator. His name's been moved about a lot in Minnesota since Flores has been taking head coach interviews. They're like, hey, we've got the successor right here in town. So he's also got a connection with Ben Johnson. He was an assistant in Miami at the same time that Jones worked for the Dolphins. They definitely have a connection and a relationship. So we're kind of looking at before Johnson was officially hired as the head coach in Chicago. You guys know I've been reporting on this. There was word that he was targeting former Saints head coach Dennis Allen. I think that's still the case because I've heard further reinforcement of this through my friends at Sports Talk San Francisco. They're part of our Sports Talk family here. He stated that the 49ers had Allen as their first choice for defensive coordinator. He informed them that wherever Ben Johnson goes, he's promised to come along as defensive coordinator. So they didn't bother interviewing them. They went with Sela, who they just hired today. So kind of the book on Durante Jones, highly respected. He's worked with defensive minds such as Brian Flores, Vance Joseph, Marvin Lewis. among other guys too, but just a really nice guy to bring into Hallis Hall for a talk. So now look at the other candidate. This is even more compelling. This is Aubrey Pleasant. Big connection to Ben Johnson too. So we're looking at Pleasant and Johnson. They worked together in Detroit with the Lions from 2021 to 22. That's when Pleasant served as pass game coordinator for the defense and defensive backs coach. A lot of people don't realize that pass game coordinator, it's actually a defensive coaching position as well. So we're looking at him beginning his NFL coaching career with the Cleveland Browns. That's in 2013. And then since he's held positions with Washington, Detroit, and yes, the Green Bay Packers. Everybody relax. So looking at his tenure with the Rams, that's what I want to focus on, though. And once again, this is a coach that left and came back. He was with them from 2017 to 2020 and from 2023 to right now. His career has been marked by significant contributions to their defensive backfield and formulating their pass defense. And once again, he started with Cleveland, then went to Green Bay, and once again, him coming back to LA. That says a ton about how respected he is and how respected Sean McVay is and what his opinion of him, that should be taken really heavily. He left for LA, went to Detroit, welcomed back with open arms. And also when he came back, he got a pretty big promotion. His recent promotion to assistant head coach by the Rams underscores like how much his leadership abilities are thought of, what high regard that he's still held in within this organization. And I think it also reflects his influence, his positive impact on both players and staff, because during the preseason, this is kind of a tradition that McVay does. Our own head coach did this during the preseason. The Los Angeles Chargers had a preseason game, and McVay stepped back and he gave Pleasant the head coaching responsibilities. That just highlights the organization's confidence in his leadership. And so kind of to stitch this all up, the Bears have legitimate interest in Pleasant and Jones. I just don't think presently it's for defensive coordinator, but it really aligns with their current goals under their newly appointed head coach, Ben Johnson. He's emphasized something. He's emphasized the importance of strengthening the team's defense. And both of these guys experience not only in the defensive backfield, but as leaders, coordinating the defensive pass game. It aligns really well with this goal. In short, we're talking about proven track records and developers of defensive talent and implementing effective schemes and strategies, because both of these defenses, especially on the back end, have really benefited from their expertise. I think you can just see the results of both of these teams. That speaks a lot for it, right? So strong candidates to elevate the Bears' overall defensive performance. Once again, most likely in the defensive backfield. Keep your eyes on these guys, because you may very well see them filling out this defensive staff. And if something happens, this happens sometimes, right? What if the Dennis Allen hire, what if it doesn't happen? What if it falls through for some reason? It sometimes happens. But you've got two fantastic fallback options that we can consider, not just Rooney Rule half-hearted interviews to get the compliance out of the way, although the timing does say that they're trying to get Dennis Allen in the building. Both of these guys are legit. I have absolutely no problem with either one of these guys being on their staff, and you shouldn't either. You guys let me know what you think. Kind of moving quickly on these coaching hires. I'm going to continue to report on them. Bear down, you guys. Talk to me in the comments. Tell me what you think about both of these guys, and we'll talk soon. See ya.